Hey, it's Wednesday, January 7th. Happy New Year, everyone. We are waiting for our guest, Robin Ficker, who's having some technical issues. But in the meantime, we are here, myself, Dwight Patel, Vice Chair of the Maryland Republican Party, Jackie Saxton, Chairman of the Maryland YRs, and Mark Unker, Secretary of the Maryland GOP, as well as President of Montgomery County Republican Club. We have a very special piece in politics tomorrow. We have the sitting judges coming. And
Woohoo.
speaking of that, here we have Robin.
There he is.
Take it away, guys.
Do you see me?
Jackie.
We see
Yes.
you. How you
We
doing,
see you,
Robin?
I can't see anyone.
Really? Can you hear us?
Here.
Oh, wait, now I see you. Yes.
Perfect.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So
Okay,
my
here we go.
first question to you, Robin Ficker, is what are you going to do to improve broadband in Western Maryland?
Well, we sure need to do it. I think one of the Democrats running, that was her job with the federal government, and she ended up clearing up zero broadbands after spending millions of dollars.
They actually devoted billions of dollars and
Billions,
it was
yes.
billions, and it was a classic program where they put so many requirements and conditions and they put so much red tape on it that it became incredibly ineffective.
Well,
But,
and I also got a letter from Montgomery County earlier in 2025 saying they had a program and did I want to connect with that? And I said yes, and I never heard back from them.
That sounds about right. So, Robin, I've been getting a lot of your mailers, so I know that you're definitely hitting the campaign trail. And your most recent one was specifically going after April McLean Delaney, which makes sense. She is the incumbent. But with the re-entrance of David Trone into the race, do you think that he has a better shot of winning that primary?
Well, that's my next mailing, which will come out in January, which is in the works now, because both of them they're Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They Delaney has already said that she wants to impeach Trump, and Trone has said that she is too pro-Trump. So that's going to be the contest. Whereas I'm going to be focusing on affordability and bringing in some companies to Western Maryland, bringing in jobs. They've both been serving Western Maryland, but they haven't brought in any jobs. The Magnificent Seven isn't coming in. Microsoft, Netflix, NVIDIA, Google, none of them are coming into Maryland. Google is spending about $80 million on $80 billion this year on capex, and not one penny is coming into Maryland. President Trump is the best back scratcher in Washington, D.C. If you help him, he'll help you. And he's not going to help people who want to impeach him. I'm going to tell him, look, President Trump, we have about a 15-mile section of I-270 that we need widened from Clarksburg up to Frederick, and it'll make it a lot easier for people to get to Camp David. Can't you help me out? I'm gonna support your conservative programs and limiting spending, but you need to improve this road, and that's what we're going to get him to do. We're going to improve that. And I also have this ballot question on the ballot in Montgomery County. Montgomery County is about 28.1% of the vote. Frederick is 40.1% of the vote. And then the other three counties make up about 31%. I've got this ballot question in Montgomery County where Neil Parrott was beaten quite badly in Montgomery County. And I think that this ballot question to limit county expenditures to the rate of inflation is going to be very popular in Montgomery County, given all the affordability and spending measures that have been passed in Montgomery County. I'm going to be supporting that. I helped write it along with Sully Sullivan. That'll be my running mate in November. And I think that question will get a minimum of 45% of the vote, very likely up to 55% of the vote. So that's a really good running mate in Montgomery County. And coupled with improving I-270, the big link between our two major jurisdictions in the 6th district, I think that'll propel me to victory. And, I don't think it really matters whether Trone or Delaney wins that primary. They're going to be attacking each other, spending millions of dollars. They'll be choking the airwaves very soon. And I don't think that they're going to be feeling very good about each other after the primary. Mr. Delaney, who held this seat and who then ran for president, only to find out that running for president is like being a leaf on the ocean. He was quoted as saying that David Trone didn't have any friends. So they're already going after each other. And, I want to point out, too, what the Frederick News Post did that was wrong just the other day. They said that most of the district is in Montgomery County. That's not true. It's 28% is in Montgomery County, 40.1% in Frederick County. So they don't know their own county very well. I know them both very well, having been almost everywhere in these two counties. And I'm going to be a good representative. Be positive, be friendly to the big business people that can bring jobs in and increase our productivity in Western Maryland. Look what's happening out in Cumberland, where you have, I guess it's 8% of the vote in Allegheny County in Maryland's 6th district. They're paying people to come and just live there. So we need to bring in some jobs. Just recently, Nucor Steel built the largest private project in West Virginia history, just over the border in West Virginia. That should have been here in Western Maryland, but the administration is not going to do anything for our district when the two people running on the Democratic side, their main platform is impeaching the president.
So my question, Robin, is coming back to the two of them. It seems like the real contest in the primary is which of the two can get the Democratic Socialists of America endorsement.
I agree.
And that's not a facetious question. I don't think sometimes people in Western Maryland know that there's really Mark Elridge is a member of DSA. His preferred candidate for county executive is DSA. There's some other council members who are supportive. They really are far to the left. So can you elaborate a little? And I know you said it's Tweedledee, Tweedledum, but it does seem that the lurch to the left that the two of them are going to be involved with is really going to change the perception, is it not, that people have of them after the primary is done?
Well, they're both trying to run to the left of each other, and I am just not going to go there because that's not my history. I've put term limits on the ballot here in Montgomery County, which passed, and which neither one of them signed that petition. I've put property tax limits on the ballot here in Montgomery County, which stopped property tax increases for about 8 years until the council unanimously overrode the limit, and they weren't supporting that. I haven't heard of any measure where they want to cut the federal budget. They're only talking about increasing the federal budget, spending taxpayers' money, which taxpayers right now don't have. We have a big enough problem in Montgomery County and Frederick County where the assessments have increased 12.5% in just 1 year. And so that means that people are going to be out to grab your wallet. And believe me, the two Democrats are not going to protect your wallet at all. They didn't say anything, for instance, about the dramatic 80% increase in car registration fees, so that every year you have to pay a few $100s in Western Maryland where everyone's driving. You have to pay just for your car registration. They haven't complained about that. They neither one of them complained about the fact that the Frederick City Council just recently passed an amendment to the charter which allows non-citizens to vote. both of them were for shutting down the government. You know, I've lived in Western Maryland. I was appointed to West Point from high school by Western Maryland's member of Congress, John Foley, who was a Democrat. And I've been following Western Maryland politics all my life, and I don't recall ever a representative from Western Maryland voting to shut down the government. And Delaney did it twice, and Trone was right on her heels approving of this shutdown. You know, we have 35,000 federal employees in Maryland's 6th district, and at least that number of independent contractors. So you're talking at least 70,000 people where the Western Maryland delegation was in favor of shutting down the government for 45 days where people weren't getting a paycheck. So they're not going to protect anyone's pocketbook. And believe me, I will. And I want to bring in these businesses. I'm going to be rubbing shoulders with some of the titans of industry in the United States. And I'm going to say, hey, come on into ComSat, which has been vacant for 30 years on I-270. Come on into Frederick County. I'm going to be friendly and not make enemies on the Hill as they are seemingly trying to do, make an enemy of the whole administration. I'm going to be very friendly, and I think that it'll be reciprocated.
So one of the other things that could play a huge part in how this race goes is the redistricting commission that is unfortunately going on right now. What do you think the potential maps could look like that come out of that? Or do you think—
Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up because I've seen some of the maps. Now, here's the practical problem. You know, when you have redistricting, you're letting the fox into the chicken coop. Now, I don't think that fox is only going to be looking at those chickens from the Eastern Shore. Once the fox is in the chicken coop, he's also going to be looking at Western Maryland. Now, there's only one district besides the Eastern Shore where Republicans have a good chance of winning, and that's in Maryland's 6th district. The problem we have is that neither Delaney nor Trone live in the present 6th district. They live down by the Beltway. And I think what we're going to see is they're going to be imploring the redistricting folks to redraw the district to eliminate Eastern Frederick County, where Republicans have always done well, and to bring it all the way down into Montgomery County, very likely to include their homes. So instead of moving into the district, they're going to try to have the district move to them.
What do you got, Mark?
Well, I was going to ask, we've talked about getting more economic development, and one of the issues that's gotten a lot of attention, and you've kind of touched on it with the investment the big companies are making, is data centers. And there has been a lot of discussion in Frederick County about basically they've got a fair amount of land that's available for data centers. That said, the Democrats in Annapolis have been pushing back on— they want to create more regulations, more requirements, more reviews. Where are you on that issue of more data centers?
I can tell you where I am. I'm on the energy issue, okay? We have Calvert Cliffs in Maryland. Calvert Cliffs supplies 40% of Maryland's electricity and 80% of Maryland's no emissions electricity. We need to expand that plant. About 2 years ago, I went to a meeting of the Maryland Black Caucus in Baltimore, and they had a panel there, and Aruna Miller, Maryland's lieutenant governor, was on the panel. And I got up and asked her in public in front of hundreds of people. I said, what are we going to do about expanding Calvert Cliffs? Instead of getting nuclear energy from Pennsylvania, which they're buying electricity from Pennsylvania, and a nuclear plant in Pennsylvania, why don't we expand the one that we have in Maryland, which has been without incident, without problems since 1975? I took a tour of it when it was first built. It's a wonderful plant, no incidents, no problems whatsoever. And you know what Aruna Miller said? She said, the people of Maryland aren't ready for nuclear generated electricity. She said, that's what she said in public, and they have done nothing about it. They're talking about putting wind mills in the ocean that's going to kill the whales and disrupt the sea life. They're talking about solar panels on farmland, but they're not talking about nuclear energy. And we have one of the best plants in the United States that should have been expanded. President Trump has said that he's going to streamline all the regulations to expand nuclear energy in the United States. They should have an entire committee working on expanding that plant. And if we have enough electricity, then you won't have to put 1,000, and that's what they want to do in Adamstown. They want to put 1,000 big generators there to electrify this data center. I mean, have you seen how big these generators are? This is not like a lawnmower. This is like a generator that's like 10 feet long, and they want to put 10,000 of those right next to the elementary school out there in Adamstown. No parent who has, and I've talked to some of the parents, I testified out there about it. I went to a hearing that State Senator Folden and the delegation held out there. No parent is going to want these huge generators emitting all the diesel gas and tremendous amounts of noise during the school day. I think you'd be committing parental malpractice to allow your kids to go to a school next to these huge generators that are polluting and which are so noisy. So, the primary problem we have, and the governor has done nothing about it, is getting enough energy in Maryland. We're energy deficient. We're going to be having brownouts next year in Baltimore, brownouts. So we need a crash program to improve the amount of energy. And then once we have the energy, we won't have all these generators and polluting sources. We'll have clean nuclear energy if we get that expanded with the President Trump hustle of streamlining the regulations, and then we'll be able to bring in some industry. But right now, what company is, we just had this new unique Maryland technology sales tax. What forward-looking CEO in the United States is going to locate in Maryland with this new technology tax and with no energy to power his buildings? No,
Robin,
and that's
Robin?
why none of them are moving here.
Robin, could I go back? I was kind of curious about what you had to say about the data center in Frederick. Now, we're talking about the Adamstown proposal?
Yes, 2,600 acres.
2,600. So, but basically 4 square miles that would be dedicated to data centers. So now these were backup generators, which are part and parcel. They're not what the data centers typically operate on, but they have as a backup. So you're opposed to putting the data centers into Adamstown?
Well, I'm opposed to these 1,000 diesel generators. No one is going to put up with that. I don't care where it is. It's because we have an energy problem. We've got to cure Maryland's energy problem before we are attractive to CEOs that want to build data centers that produce income and increase Maryland's gross domestic product. And
Robin,
there's no effort whatsoever to increase Maryland's energy. It's been a complete and abject failure at the state level.
So, Robin, across the river in Loudoun County has 50 million square feet of data centers. They're obviously they're the data center of the world, and a quarter of the budget in Loudoun County comes from the tax revenue just from those data centers. It's kept taxes down low. And I can assure you that in those data centers, they've made arrangements to have backup generators, and they're prepared to do that. But so you're saying that you don't want to do that in Frederick County?
I'm saying that these generators in Adamstown are not backup. They're the primary source of energy, and I can understand how that's a big problem for anyone, especially near the Carroll Manor School there. That's a big problem for any parent who has kids going there. We've done nothing to bring energy into Maryland. We're going to be having brownouts. We're going in the wrong direction. Maryland, as you recall, copied California law to say that we couldn't even have gas-powered cars in Maryland after 2030. We need to improve clean energy output in Maryland. That's a starter. That's a starter, and nothing has been done about it. Have you heard Governor Moore talking about that? He's still commiserating with the fact that you can't have windmills off of Ocean City. I live on a farm. I'm the only farmer in this race. I get a couple of messages every year from people who want to put solar panels on my property, which is nice farmland. We don't want the solar panels on farmland. They should be in industrial zones. They should be on top of buildings. And we need to have clean nuclear energy. I mean, if there's any state that has the best plant for nuclear energy in that state, it's Maryland, and we've done nothing about it. I've talked to the delegates and senators from that area. It would provide lots of jobs for all the people in Prince George's County and Calvert County, and they're well-paying jobs, and it would help our state. We're buying energy from other states now, and of course they know that we're energy deficient, so they're going to charge an overprice. They're going to say, yeah, you can have our electricity. We'll charge you twice as much as our ratepayers pay.
So you've mentioned nuclear. Where are you on Crystal? We've lost a lot of plants as this transition has taken place that were coal-fired, as well as natural gas plants. So how about producing energy with again coal plants and with natural gas plants?
Natural gas is lovely. It's clean smelling. It's inexpensive. There's lots of natural gas from Pennsylvania, for instance. They have a huge surplus of natural gas. We could get it inexpensively, but there's also a group in Annapolis who doesn't want natural gas anywhere near the Chesapeake Bay, which is the big waterway where you'd have these natural gas ships coming. Natural gas is a natural for me. Yeah, sure. I'm very much in favor of that.
Great.
So one of the other hot topics this week has been surrounding the fraud case in Minnesota. And I've seen a lot of whisperings on the internet, on social media, that people are like, oh, they should look at Maryland next. We definitely have something similar going on here. Do you know anything about potential fraud here that you think we should be looking into?
Well, the CHIPS Act, not the CHIPS Act, the SNAP Act. Governor Moore will not release the files of all the people who are receiving SNAP. And I read just the other day that it's estimated that Maryland has a 13% error rate. It's predicted that Maryland will have a 13% error rate. So why not just make these files public? Because you're having dead people receive SNAP. You're having people with multiple SNAP accounts. You're having people who are in the country illegally receiving SNAP benefits. We need to release Maryland's data so that people who are looking for fraud and waste in the federal government can get to it. But instead of allowing the feds access to Maryland's SNAP data, the Attorney General, Anthony Brown, has sued the administration about 50 times. He has Trump derangement syndrome. And the same thing with Governor Moore. He's running a national campaign. There's no question about it. And he's not going down to Alabama and telling them there that, oh, we in Maryland are very friendly with the administration. He's very likely alluding to impeachment, just as Delaney thinking.
So the other hot topic that's been going on recently is the reason that we had the government shutdown that we did last year is the conversation about healthcare. What do you think we should be doing to lower the cost of healthcare in this country?
Well, we need to let people buy their own health care. You know, I don't see why we should be shutting down the government so that people who earn more than 400% of the poverty level can get a government subsidy for their health care. I don't see why healthy Americans who are single, who don't have any dependents, should be able to get a government subsidy for their health care. I don't see why states who are giving state money to people in the country illegally should be getting federal money for health care so that they can give free health care to people in the country illegally. There has to be a review, an audit. That's a key word in Maryland, which none of the legislators like to hear. They have hundreds of nonprofits in Maryland that are getting state money that are never audited. We need to audit these programs, and then we'll find that when we're not giving health care money to people who don't deserve it, like healthy single Americans who should be working, or who refuse to spend 20% of their time in school, or 20% of their time helping youngsters, taking care of youngsters' child care. People who are refusing all that, they're takers. They're not givers, they're just takers. We need to get some of these takers who aren't meeting the requirements. You know, the health care was for pregnant women, it's for older people that need help, who can't afford the health care, it's for people who go down and sit for 12 hours in an emergency room. Healthcare is not for people who are in the country illegally. It's not for people who are able-bodied. It should be for people that the Medicaid program was originally drafted to protect. Instead, we have like 80 million people on Medicaid now, and there's a lot there that shouldn't be on the program, and we certainly don't know who should be and who shouldn't without an audit, which the Democrats are repulsing. They don't like the word audit. Look at Minnesota. They have learning centers, LEAR, learning centers out there that are receiving $2.5 million a year for childcare with no children. You know, we need auditing. We need to audit these government programs, and then those who truly deserve them, like many Americans and many Marylanders do truly deserve these programs, then we can focus on these people and not people who are just fraudulently lining their pockets.
So, Robin, you're campaigning to be part of the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives, of course, that goes without saying. What's your assessment of the current leadership among the Republicans, and would you look for a change?
Well, you know, I'm going to a function on I think it's Friday with Andy Harris and the House of Delegates Freedom Caucus, which is in Montgomery County. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be talking to them about the redistricting and talking about Republican ideals. But, you know, why am I running? I am not running to be a leader in the Republican caucus. I am running because I've lived my life in Maryland, and I want to help the people in Maryland. And I'm going to be friends with all the Republicans. I'm going to be friends with the Democrats, and I want to bring home some bacon to Western Maryland and get something done for the people here. That's my focus. It's not to gain a leadership position in the Republican caucus. It's to be friendly to every single Republican, be friendly to the administration, be friendly to the Democrats, and to bring home some dollars for Route 81, for 270, for helping and bringing in a big employer for ComSat right there on I-270, which is an eyesore. I'm running for Maryland. I'm a Maryland guy. I'm running to bring logic to government. I love Maryland. I've lived my whole life here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not running for higher office. I'm not running to gain contracts for my wine stores. I don't have 6 houses who are outside Maryland's 6th district as Congresswoman Delaney does. I have my farm here in Maryland. I'm want to protect the farmers in Western Maryland. I was cutting stickers today and got my face cut with these stickers that slap up alongside the tractor. I want to help Maryland and bring in some money for the education, for the schools here, so that they won't have to raise taxes every year as County Executive Ehrlich wants to do. He wants to, Ehrlich and Juando, you know what they want to do? They want to increase the local income tax. That's unbelievable in these times where people are hurting. I want to protect people's pocketbooks in Western Maryland, bring in some jobs. I'm a Maryland guy, and when they see, that's why I wear this Maryland hat at every function and my Maryland shirt. I want when people see me, I want them to think there's the guy who's looking out for Maryland. There's the guy who wants to improve that Cabin John or American Legion bridge, who wants to improve the road up to Frederick, so that people can get to Camp David, and so that just recently a columnist in the Washington Post wrote a statement. He said, "I saw Robin Ficker riding up 270 reading a legal brief." Okay, so I wrote it and said it wasn't a brief, it was just a motion. We have people wasting a lot of time on I-270, and when they get home, they're angry. They're fighting with their spouse because they're irritated sitting there. I see women doing their hair, talking on the phone. Everyone's doing that. Everyone, they're texting. They're talking to their friends on the internet while they're driving. That's why we have these rear end collisions. So, I want to improve. We have a gentleman who's in the 8th district of Maryland, Congressman Raskin. He's been in there for a long time. He hasn't done a thing to improve the Beltway or I-270, which are the 2 main roads in his district. We need someone who's looking out for Maryland, who wants to bring some jobs in here. We had Amazon, and I know all about Amazon because my son-in-law is head of personnel for the Seattle Seahawks, who, by the way, are going to win the Super Bowl. I know all about Amazon. I've talked to these people many times. They were putting up a skyscraper in Seattle every year until Seattle wanted to impose a per employee head tax. Then they started looking elsewhere, and they narrowed it down to like 20 sites, including one in Montgomery County and including one in Virginia. And as soon as they found out who was elected in Montgomery County, people who had just raised property taxes, they decided, forget Montgomery County, we're going to Virginia. We should have had that big educational landmark in Montgomery County with Amazon, one of the Magnificent Seven. We should have landed them here in Montgomery County, but with the traffic, with the tax increases, we're not getting companies like that. But I want people to know that Robin from Maryland is going to be friendly to business. He's going to be friendly to both sides of the aisle, and come and see us, and we'll reward you with our well-educated, hardworking population in Maryland's 6th district.
So, Robin, I doubt that there's many people who don't know how to find you, but if people are looking to find out more about you and your campaign, where can they go?
Well, they can look up voteficker.com. Voteficker.com. I'm on Facebook, excuse me, about every day. They can call me on my cell phone, 301-919-9068, 301-919-9068. I don't avoid anybody. There's no way. I believe in robust discussion of public issues. That's why I've placed 25 charter amendments on the ballot in Montgomery County since 1974. We had one that eliminated sewage sludge trenching in the county. We had one that did away with garbage dumps in residential zones when the Democrats wanted to put the county garbage dump where Avenel Golf Course is now. I had the property tax limit, and I have one on the ballot in 2026, and then got term limits passed. In 2026, Sully Sullivan and I will have a question to limit county spending increases to the rate of inflation. And so, I've always believed in robust discussion of the issues. You don't go out in front of a grocery store for 8 hours collecting signatures if you're afraid to discuss public issues. And believe me, I have no fears about talking to anyone and listening. I'm also very broad-minded and realize that every Montgomery Countyan, everyone in Frederick knows more about at least one subject than I do. So I'm a good listener, and I know that good listeners become very smart in the long run, and that's what I'm going to try to be. My wires are not down. I have an open mind on every subject, and I want to work hard to improve. And I'm very energetic. I'm not low energy like the two Democrats who are running. They're low energy. You don't see them walking around anywhere. I'm high energy.
Robin, has anyone ever accused you of being low energy?
No. And as a matter of fact, I've got a secret for you, Mark, and for Dwight. And here's what you two guys should do, and everyone on this program should listen. I don't even have chairs in my living room. Okay, I watch football games. I watch the news every day. But what do I have there? While I'm watching, I've got a rowing machine, so that I am not only watching and learning, I am rowing and getting exercise. I've got my food here. I've got the restroom here. I don't have to get in the car and go to the gym. And every time somebody scores a touchdown, like when Baltimore scores a touchdown, I'm rowing faster. So I've got a computer. Computers don't lie. They measure how much time you're spending rowing, what your distance is, and how far you've gone, how many strokes. I'm doing this each and every day, and it keeps you young. It keeps you active. It keeps that blood coursing through your veins, so that you don't end up having strokes. You don't end up having blockages in your mind, so you can't think. You gotta. You're not only learning, but you're exercising there every day. So if you want to come over and watch the Seahawks beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, come on over. But I'm gonna have you on the rowing machine for at least one quarter.
So Robin's going to start a gym, right?
Yes.
Once he makes it to Congress, he's going to open a set of gyms also.
Undoubtedly, he's going to make it to the House gym as well, and
For
make
sure.
sure they have a rowing machine.
Well, I'm inviting all of you right now to my swearing in ceremony in January of 20. I guess it'll be 2027. 2020. Yeah, 2027, and you can have your choice of either crab soup or bean soup.
Okay. Do you have any events that you want to tell people that are coming up, that you have coming up?
Well, I mean, I watched. If you put in the word events in Facebook, every day there's something you can go to. Like tomorrow night, the Republican Party group in Frederick County is having their meeting. They had to change it because it was all set for the Red Horse, which caught fire this week, $1 million of damage. But they've got a new address. I'll be going to that, and I type in the word events every day into Facebook, and there's always events that I go to because I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy learning things from other people and keeping current with the events. And so, I have an event every day, and of course, I'm also spending some time collecting signatures to put our question on the ballot to limit the county spending to the rate of inflation. So I'm interacting with folks. Believe me, I'm not hiding. I'm out there meeting voters. I really enjoy meeting the people and learning from them, because every day they come up with something new.
Jackie, let me let you take your interviewer hat off and ask you what's happening with the YRs. What events that you guys have coming up?
So I know the Montgomery County YRs have a trivia night coming up at Baby Cat Brewery, and that's going to be on the 27th, I believe. And then I know that the Young Republican National Federation has our leadership conference in DC. That is February 19th to the 22nd. And early bird ticket sales end on Friday. So that is definitely something that's going to be worth going to as well. But, it's a new year. YRs have a lot in store to help out all of our candidates post-primary. And we're looking forward to it. And then, of course, we'll have our crab feast sometime as it gets warmer.
Well, we have some great young Republicans. Kai Burhans is running for county council in Frederick. He's like 25 years old. We have the youngest office holder in Maryland, Mason Carter, running for re-election in Frederick County. I think when he wins re-election, I think next time he should run for county executive. We have two outstanding young people on the running for county who will win in Frederick County. I go to their functions, and we need some young people here in Montgomery County too, so that we don't get school boards where they won't even hear the viewpoint of people who want opt out, who cancel opt out because too many people apply. We don't need people whose views are in the snow, who don't have an open mind. And we need some, and I think it's going to take some young upcoming people, maybe some friends of Charlie Kirk or somebody. We need to have a breakthrough here in Montgomery County to get some young viewpoints, not the same tired old tax increase viewpoints.
I couldn't agree more. And we already have a record number of young Republicans who are signed up to run for office across the state. So we're really looking forward to it. And maybe we'll get a handful in Montgomery County too.
Yeah, well, young Republicans don't remember the campaign slogan of the guy who ran against Sheriff Offit. Okay, you know what the slogan was? Get off it. Get off it, young Republicans. Get out there, start meeting people, start going to public events, and do something to get your name known. That's usually the best way to do that, is to do something for the voters if you can, and like put a ballot question on the ballot. And I think that we'll get some young Republicans elected, because when I go down there to Annapolis, and I'm going to be there for the opening day of the session, which I think is next Monday. When you go down there, you see a lot of old fogies in the legislature. We need to see some young, bright, rising stars.
Well, just a reminder that the Montgomery County Republican Club will be having its monthly pizza and politics tomorrow night at Mama Lucia up in Olney, and we'll be having the sitting judges, a group that you're familiar with, Robin, and hearing from them. We've got obviously information about how to participate on our website. So, Jackie, it's great to have you back. You don't know all about this, Robin, but Jackie is hard to get a hold of because she's always on cruises.
Well,
she's between cruises, and we're glad to have her.
Yes. Well, happy to be back.
Cruises can be a lot of fun, and it shows to me that she's adventurous. And if there's one type of person I like, it's someone who's adventurous.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great having you on the show, Robin.
Thank you, and I'll leave you all in good company.
Thanks.
Take care.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go down